All right, well, welcome everyone. Thank you for attending the first ever Glimesh staff meeting. That is the official way to pronounce it, Glimesh, just in case anyone was curious. I know Icarus keeps mispronouncing the name, but that's okay. We will forgive him. It's all right. It's your first time, buddy. I understand. So what I thought we'd do today is basically talk about our overall plan and execution strategy for the upcoming launch. So I think we've had a lot of thoughts on what this looks like, on what we can actually accomplish. We've been thinking a lot about what the best way to launch is, and there's really no clear answer yet. And so what I really wanted to do today was talk about that. So what I've prepared for us is essentially an agenda that has us working backwards, with starting with the idea. So let's talk about what we actually want for the launch. What would be the ideal state? Would it be we're launched live to 10 million people with 100,000 streamers and 100,000 subscribers, or is it we launch to 100 streamers with their loving audience and fans able to watch them? So what is the ideal state? And then we'll kind of work backwards. So we'll talk about what kind of features does that 10 streamers need, and how exactly do they use those features to their advantage? And we're talking in the ideal state, right? Because then what we'll do after that is we'll actually break those features down into what we need to build and what we already have, and then that'll actually give us a really neat framework to work off of. In the same way, we can apply that principle to marketing, to advertising, to whatever else we may need to launch. So that's kind of the objective. I'm streaming right now the meeting agenda. If anyone wants to look at it, I think I can also share it with you all. But essentially, what we'll do is we'll talk about some weekly metrics just to start the meeting off. Let's get us hyped, and then we'll talk about wins that we've had for the last week. Does that sound good with everyone? Just everyone say unmute and say yes at the same time. That's probably the best way to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please do.
Exactly the coordination I expected from us.
Chat also said yes. All right, so with that in mind, let's talk about our weekly metrics. Actually, let's switch it up. Let's do wins first, and then we'll do metrics. So the past week has been absolutely phenomenal. It's been quite a unique experience, and has really been, for me, it's really been a solidifier of what the future is for us. In the past week, we've successfully completed our first charity stream, raising over $3,000 for the Trevor Project. That's an amazing accomplishment, and it really went to show what our community could pull through. And then for Icarus, he actually hosted the event, and he showed us what a Glimesh streamer can actually be by being this courageous, inspirational, awesome character who got along with everyone and literally tried to read chat live as it was coming in, even though he was overwhelmed very quickly. So I wanted to start off with that really big announcement. That was a really huge effort. He not only streamed for us, but he also kind of raised the community up to raise that money, and then he also cut his hair for us, which no one asked for, no one really wanted, but it happened anyway. So thank you for that. So some of the stats from that event were that we had 200 concurrent viewers. That was kind of our max. I don't know if anyone saw it go a little bit higher, but 200 for me was what I saw. During that time, we were hitting over, I think it was 1.6 gigabits per second of bandwidth across 3 servers, and not only San Francisco, New York, but also London. That was a huge thing for us, because that amount of traffic, maybe for Twitch is nothing, right? It's insignificant, but for us, that was so large, and it kind of really proved that we can do this, right? That it can happen. And that charity event was awesome because not only do we prove that we could do it, but we also proved that we can do it and have fun at the same time. We proved that even though we're practicing open principles and we're being transparent and honest, that doesn't actually set us back. That actually helps move us forward, even when other people have different advantages. We also had 1.3 thousand unique visitors to our website and to Icarus's stream during that night, with 13,000 page views overall. The people that did view us, they had an average of 8 minutes duration for the stream. And that's pretty impressive too, because the average duration of a website is about 3 to 4 seconds, you know? They visit the webpage, if they don't see what they want, they immediately head off. But the 8 minutes meant that people clicked on it, watched it, and stuck around enough to at least consume some content. We also had fantastic support from the media. I wouldn't say as much as we had hoped. We emailed, I think it was 26 different media outlets, and unfortunately none of them picked up the event. But what we were able to actually do, though, is really garnish, I'm not sure if I'm using that word right, but we're really able to kind of rally the call internally and have our own community start writing articles. So we had 2 articles published by not only Mr. Goodhand, but Avenged 07. One was in Spanish, one was in English. And they were great articles that actually brought people towards our attention. In the same way, we were actually able to get support from DigitalOcean, who retweeted our event, and they actually, 2 of their staff members made donations during the event, so that was super cool. We also unexpectedly gave someone a haircut. I think that's a win, right? Because now Icarus doesn't have to worry about his hair for quite a couple of months, and he doesn't have to worry about his eyebrows for a couple of years. So that's really a win, I think.
And he is saving so much money on shampoo now.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. Or wait, I can in a couple of days. Oh boy. And then I guess the final thing to mention is we did have a couple of technical interruptions, right? I mean, it happens. I think everyone kind of expected it to happen. That was my biggest concern, was kind of going down in the middle of the stream. But throughout the event, we streamed for 4 hours the first night, and then on the weekend we streamed for another hour. And throughout the total of 5 hours, we only actually had 2 major interruptions. And the first one was because I'm a dumbass. And the second one was just a weird crash that happened on one of the servers. So that really gives us some good backing. It kind of helps us realize what we need to do better in the future. We need to spin up servers accordingly and have them turned on. In the same way, we need to have a little bit more logging and monitoring on our origin servers in order for streams not to be interrupted while people are trying to deliver content. The next biggest win was that we actually went open source. So we're open source now. The GitHub is live, and we've actually had 13 pull requests by 7 unique people that weren't me on our GitHub so far. So a lot of the features that you'll see here soon on the website were actually accomplished by not clone, but other people of the community. So far, we've had 0 security incidents because of being open source, but they will come, and we'll deal with them appropriately. Some other good news is that we formed Glimesh Inc. as an official company. So now we're incorporated in the state of Delaware. We're an incorporated company because of some of the shareholding options that are available. And because of that, we actually get to start doing real things now. We get to start being a real business. We get to start having a bank account for the business. We get to open a payment provider access account with people like Stripe or whoever we may need. We also get to sign up to be a DMCA agent, which allows us to be the first person that people call when there's an issue with content instead of our hosting provider directly. And this removes some liability from us, because if someone called the hosting provider without talking to us, then they could shut us down without even having the conversation. So by having this real company, we also solidify our kind of place in the competitive industry that we're in by showing that we're able to move quickly. We're able to actually become a real source of reality in the company or in the competitive field, and hopefully that'll help move us forward.
Real quick, Clone, somebody had a question. They said, can we invest and get stock?
So I think one of the things that has been a popular topic has been how other people can get ownership into the company. And I think that I'm definitely interested in having those kind of conversations. What we do have to figure out, though, is, that's going to be quite a legal adventure. And what we may end up doing is waiting until post-launch, post-profit, to actually start having that conversation, just because we're going to have to pay for a lawyer to actually try and figure out the option grants and how that works. All right, chat is confirming. They're super excited they're calling it stonks. So that's what we're going to brand them now, stonks.
It's a meme thing.
I see.
You old man, you.
All right, let's cover a couple of quick weekly metrics, and then what we'll do next is have kind of an open dialogue. My brain is from 1998. Okay, thanks. All right, cool. So some of the cool metrics of the past week is, like I said, GitHub. We've had 13 pull requests merged by 7 people. That's awesome, not only because that's code that I didn't have to write, but also because it shows that there's true value in us being open source, and it's kind of solidifying our commitment to that community. During our first week of launch, we've had 808 website signups. That's incredible. That's a lot of people, and as far as I can tell, there's a couple of fake accounts here and there, but overall it seems to be a wide majority actual people who are interested in using the service in some way. Those numbers are updated to today, yes, right before this meeting. We also had, actually these are as of right now metrics. These are not in the past week, just to add some clarity. So right now we're at 652 Twitter followers, 79 Reddit subscribers, 51 Instagram followers, and 19 Facebook followers. Those are pretty good numbers. We've got some improvement to make, but for me, that's more than I could have ever imagined, especially because when I look at our Twitter dashboard, it literally just says like, it's a straight up arrow that just points up when it talks about followers and interaction. It's been interesting to see this all happen in the span of a couple of weeks. 18 days ago, that's when I created the project, and here we are now having a staff meeting with what looks to be 20 people in a Discord channel. So that's the weekly metrics. Those are the wins. Does anyone have any wins that I did not mention, or any metrics that I should be including into this?
Music Monkey asked if we have a number on recent like active relog-ins, like people coming back to the website. If you have a way to check that.
That's a good idea.
Throw it on the pile.
All right, anything else for wins or metrics? All right, cool. So my finger really hurts from holding the end key, which is my push to talk, but I'll stick in there for you guys. So next up, it's moving my screen around. One second.
Well, here, while you're doing that, Dan the Man asked about what was it, Discord users. So let me go check right now. We are at 607 members in this Discord server.
Yeah, that's an awesome one too. I actually don't know how to check that, so thank you for doing that.
I'll show you later.
All right, so next up, let's jump into the agenda. So this is the time where I want people to, it'll be hard, right? There's gonna be a lot of people who wanna talk. Realistically, what we'll do is we'll kind of give a couple minutes for each of these topics, and then we'll kind of solidify some overall opinions, and then we'll keep moving. So I do apologize in advance. It's gonna seem to be maybe a little rude, but we're gonna have to cut people short sometimes. Okay, that's just how this is gonna work with so many people in the Discord. But what we're trying to do is just kind of maintain a little bit of the conversation. All right, so talking to this agenda, what I thought would be a really great exercise for us to do, just because I think we're all so super passionate about the project, is actually talk about what is the ideal state of launch. To clearly define that goal and then create some actionable steps to get us there. So I have a couple of notes here on the Google Doc, but essentially, what is an ideal launch? How many streamers, viewers, subscribers do we have? What type of content are we catering to? How are people finding us? How are people staying engaged on the website? And what are the most popular features? So with that in mind, why don't we start kind of at the beginning here with the how many streamers, viewers, subscribers. So for me, and I'll just state mine first to get everyone's brains thinking. For me, the streamers and viewers and subscribers, the number for me is more not a standard number. It's more a kind of like a gut feeling. For me, the people we should have on the platform should mean that there's never no one to watch. I think if you ever go to the homepage and there's no one live, for me that is something that I think we have to avoid. So I don't know what that means for numbers, but that's just kind of my opinion so far. Does anyone have an opinion on that?
I have a few things that I would like to say. So like regarding your point about there not being people to watch, I think it could be helpful to create like a matrix of people's usual stream times, and like make sure you have 3-4 people for every time,
That's good. Yeah.
basically. That's one of my suggestions for your point. And the other thing that I want to say is like I think it's a good idea to not care about what that specific number is, but more like is it viable in terms of like finances? Like can you afford to have this many people on at the point, and how do you pulling it off that it works? These are my 2 points. That like it must work financially, and in terms of times, just have 2, 3, maybe 4 people per every time slot you can think of.
Thank you for your thoughts. I think that was the first point was really good and actually tied in with someone's with Ryfrost's opinion in chat, which is almost like you need to make sure, at least for the first streamers, that you have a good diversity, right? As far as time zones go, as far as streaming time zones go, to make sure that there's always someone in the various geographical areas streaming. That way, you always kind of have that live content.
Cologne, do you think it would be possible, at least at some point, for us to maybe create some type of like regional, I guess, team where we have, at least a core group of streamers for each broad region that can help keep that region going as far as content?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea because I've been kind of tossing around the idea of what is a partner. Ideally, our goal here is to actually have everyone have the same opportunity for making money on the service, so making subscriptions available to everyone, for example. But then it kind of asks the question of, okay, then what is a partner? What does that actually mean? And I think for us, it's going to end up meaning people who really take the Glimesh values and just continue to show them day in and day out with quality streams, with quality community building. And I guess to your point, right, especially when we're launching, making sure that they're making the sacrifice where available to actually provide content to the service, right? To provide that kind of overlap that they need to make their time slot successful, or to make their I guess their day or whatever it is successful.
My thing with that is that are these streamers that are going to be my big thing with that is that some of these you don't know 100% of these streamers, are they going to go through some sort of evaluation, because sometimes not all the streamers are friendly, if you know what I mean. If you put them in a time slot, they will be endorsed by Glimesh. So people might think that if there's like a bad streamer, that it's, Glimish's fault.
Right. Because you're putting your brand name right next to them.
Exactly. So are they going to go through some of a process of, hey, your content is good, or hey, you need to be a little bit more, passive or whatever?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I definitely feel like, especially early on when we have very limited options, it's not quite going to be a catch as catch can situation. We're just going to have a much smaller pool to choose from, and we're going to have to make that decision like, do we, take a chance on this person that we have limited information on, or do we just hope that we can cover it in the meantime until, we get something good there? But definitely later on, I do want there to be a vetting process in place so that, we are making sure that what we are saying, hey, you guys check this out, is something that, we are comfortable endorsing with the Glimesh name, like whether it's official or not, even if it's just us saying, hey, we want you to be visible so people can, get this going on. We definitely want to make sure that it's something we are okay with ourselves promoting.
Well,
Um,
an important aside here is, well, maybe not aside is the right word, but so when you get bad streamers on Twitch, right? I'm using Twitch as an example. If someone does something bad on Twitch, people don't generally look to Twitch and point out that Twitch is the issue, right? And part of this is because Twitch is, anyone can stream on Twitch, right? However, I think that there's a certain level of understanding with a platform like this that allowing people into stream doesn't necessarily mean that Glimesh is um, endorsing these streamers. But I still think it could be bad if streamers come on and they do bad things and they're not properly punished for that. So maybe the answer isn't necessarily in the selection, though that can be done as well, but in handling how it's done afterwards. So maybe I know very early on we mentioned something like a community team. Maybe in these early days, the community team is the real champion of the website, and they're keeping
I
track
still
of
have
these
the
people.
dream.
So if we have streamers on and there are some people that do bad things, we just need to make sure we punish them, because that at the end of the day, I think is the really important part. Is people are going to slip up and they're going to make mistakes, but we just need to make sure that they're held accountable, because we can't reasonably vet every streamer we bring onto the website.
But that's the thing with Twitch, as using your example, when you stream on the website, they don't have you in the carousel. They vet everybody that's in the carousel, and they endorse the people that are in the carousel. If there's someone in the carousel that is being basically said, hey, this is someone that you should watch at this time slot, excuse me, um, at this time slot, then that is the company endorsing the streamer.
Right,
Once
but
that happens, then the company is going to take the fall,
sure,
and
but
that has been
also,
happened
but
in Twitch.
partners aren't end all be all angels either, right? We see Dr. Disrespect got repercussions. Alinity got some, although that's a discussion for later. I think the issue is in you can't, no matter what, you can't guarantee someone's not going to do something wrong, and so at the end of the day, the focus needs to be on making sure those people face repercussions, no matter what. Um, because even the people that get pushed the hardest by the platform end up fucking up, and that's the reality of what we're faced with.
Can I just jump in? If you
Yeah,
guys
go for
can
it.
you hear me?
Yeah.
I guess I can get both sides. There's always going to be the anticipation of if people coming onto the platform to do bad. And there's also the people that will do amazingly well. I feel like whoever's joined this Discord and whoever's joined this group joins the commitment to make this place the best for streaming. But I think to keep it sort of nice and simple, the people that are streaming from different time zones, there should be a commitment, but also maybe within that recruitment, find somebody who is fully committed to the platform when they can moderate for a long period of time, so then they can be sort of like the community engagement officer for that time zone. So it's got like a mixture of both. And I get what you're saying. It's going to be hard to moderate that at the very beginning. But if you sort of set the foundation and say this is what we expect, you will be watched, but not in a negative way. You'll be moderated to make sure that you follow the values of the company. If you step out of line, repercussions will happen, for example. But obviously the people that are joining to stream here have come here for a reason, which is it's made by the community, for the community.
Also, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, go for it. I finished. Go for it.
I think
So
an
nice.
important tool in this arsenal is making sure that we also will have strong community moderation tools in place, making sure that a streamer or their chosen moderators are able to handle a situation that comes up, whether it's muting somebody, a timeout, a ban, being able to report problem people, and making sure that when somebody gets reported, something is actually done about it and it just doesn't go into a pile that nobody cares about.
Yeah, I think that's a really good
Something
point.
too.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Hiwa.
Clone, do you happen to have easy access to the last 3 Twitter posts impressions?
Yeah.
They were all over like 1 point something K, correct?
Yeah, we're getting a lot.
So I honestly think that I'm gonna just throw this out there on the optimistic side versus the realistic side. But I honestly think that the moment that this launches and you say, "Hey, everyone, you can now do this," you're gonna have triple that number of impressions on that specific. There's so many people out there begging for a new platform
Yeah.
that I don't think there'll be much issue with having a number of streamers available. I think the issue is going to be, oh no, how on earth do we moderate this thing now? Oh no, how on earth are we going to, you know, account for all this unplanned bandwidth? I think it's gonna just blow up a lot bigger than anticipated, and I think a lot of the issues of, oh no, there won't be content won't even be a problem, because I mean the last three got 1,000 on just uh, Twitter alone, and when you say, hey, this thing's for real, here it is. I mean, look at Brime, for instance. You have 16,000 people all flocking to Brime because of one, Dr. Disrespect, but I'd say probably 10,000 of them are people who want a new service.
Yeah, so if I can recap our conversation a little bit, I think what I've heard is a couple of core items I took note of. So we're solidified on the always someone live idea, because I think we can all agree that the worst thing that you can have happen, especially if you don't have clips, is to visit a site with no content, right? If you come to the page and there's no one streaming, that's kind of, you've lost a little bit. So we can all agree to that, but I think to everyone's point, right, to actually have a strong moderation team in addition to a strong streaming team, of your core initial contributors, to make sure that there's always that content, and that content is always the right values that we're trying to set. I think those are very very important topics. So I took a couple of notes here. I've got strong community values, right, because we have to have those values in place. We have to have them written down. We have to have them understood. And then we also have to have that core moderation team that can, much like the streamers, take time out of their day to make sure that the site is growing and progressing like we expect and like we want, right? Versus it being something that we don't want. So it seems like for us, an ideal launch is definitely it's a heart, right? It's living and breathing. You can feel it. You know who's on it. There's always someone to watch, but also in the same way, it's good content that you're able to enjoy. So is there any type of content, on that topic, whether it's art, technology, gaming, that we really want to target for this launch, or do we really want to kind of continue to push for that diversity? And the reason I ask is because it may be easier for us to target an initial demographic first for the launch and go, ham at it, or maybe it's a better opportunity to kind of just hit it from multiple angles. What are your thoughts?
Personally, my thought would be there are already just an absolute plethora of options for people that want to stream gaming, and we are another one of those options. And with the recent Trovo stuff going on, I think it would really be in our best interest to show the chatting, like just chatting IRL web show community, that we have a place for them, and it's not, in a little cute cubby under the stairs.
See, I think we can do that while also giving room for everyone else too. Because one of the biggest things that we've done with this platform is push this idea that, especially on Twitter recently with the whole Trovo thing, was that we pushed this opportunity that everyone's going to have an equal opportunity. And if we turn around and do some sort of launch with only like a focus on one group of people, I don't think that's the opposite of what we want. That's literally pushing in the opposite direction.
Oh yeah, I didn't mean only focus on those people. I'm sorry,
well,
that was unclear.
However, there is a lot of value in pushing for something like a just chatting demographic, because if you look at the stats on Twitch, the analytics, just chatting is perhaps the fastest and most consistently growing category that the site has seen in years. And so I think no matter what we do, we need to have a strong push on this sort of, just chatting demographic, maybe like arts and things like that. But also we need to have a diverse category of content for people to watch as well, because that's important to Glimesh as a whole. That's what the organization, the platform is.
Yeah, one of the failures of Mixer was literally just that ever since they in 2017 switched to just being focus on BRs, it was PUBG, then Fortnite throughout. That's what literally just creates such a disbalance. And I feel that, you know, everybody wants to feel included in something. And that is something that is missing from a lot of the platforms.
I'd love to jump in again if that's okay. I think, once again, taking everybody's opinions into account, there needs to be a fine balance. And I think, obviously, people who know me know my background is all about mental health, and I would love for every sort of time zone to have a support mental health stream. However, I know sometimes that might not happen. But if you could get maybe, and it all depends on how many people you want in each category, but I think there needs to be sort of broken down, absolutely. So like gaming, arts and crafts, mental health, support, music, radio, talk show, all sorts of things. I think it's very important not to discriminate, because we're here to make sure that this is a platform inclusive of everybody, but you don't want to go too heavy on one category and not enough. So I think if you broke it down into time zones, having a very specific amount of differential categories, and I think that would be sort of crucial, because then it will also include a load of other people to come to the platform as well. So it's not just gamers or chit chatters or music. Somebody can come to the platform and there's a plethora of categories.
To take that a step further, and not to make it too very complicated, but what about the possibility also of like subcategories? So like you have just chatting, but in that you have like a chill category, or you have a studying category, or mental health discussion, like you were saying, whatever the case. You could even extend that into games where, say, somebody's playing Super Mario 64, they could just have that, or they could subcategorize as speed run or something like that.
Wouldn't that be where tags came in, though?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
that's pretty much tagged.
Disregard everything I say. Thank you.
I think if you have too many categories, then it could quickly become just this like massive out of control web of categories.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking while I was talking. I was like, how do I make this not too damn much? Turns out you guys are way smarter than me, so good.
Carry on.
Hayden, over here trying to invent Twitch, bro.
Right? I'm working on it. Here's the thing. Let people get away with everything. No. Hayden, did you get your question answered in the chat? I see we were talking over there.
Yeah. So Clone answered the first question pretty well. I think the second question's kind of answered, but I did want to kind of draw attention to kind of the finances part. I know that you haven't really brought it to the front, but so far this has kind of been a free ride, and by free ride I mean it sounds like it's coming straight out of your pocket in terms of hosting costs. So I think maybe it's worth talking about how we hit targets that let us keep the service financially viable, so that Clone doesn't have to keep paying for anything.
Yeah, and I do think it's a very important topic. I just think one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to limit growth in the beginning because of the finances. I think what we've been doing a little bit of analysis to try and figure out exactly what the kind of metrics are. But as long as there's some people supporting the platform, it seems we're gonna make it just fine. Especially because right now what we don't have to worry about is salaries. I was doing this analysis the other night, and it was something like it would cost us essentially like $1,000 to host 32 streamers for X amount of time, and we would make it was like I think it was like $200 of profit on that or whatever it was. And then I was like, okay, and then we add in one employee. And now that is $10,000 a month that we need to figure out how to pay for because of that one employee. So the employees for me is where we start to get into the real financial discussion. As long as for now we kind of admit to this being a really fun side project that doesn't need to pay people yet, we can at least try and narrow down the bandwidth and try and make sure that the bandwidth is our main financial concern. And then hopefully let the platform grow, exist, and then we'll have scale on our side, and then paying people will become easier.
That makes sense. And that kind of feeds into the second question, where it was pointed out before that there was a ton of interest from streamers for new platforms to stream on. If we unveil this new platform and open streaming to everyone, and we get thousands of folks streaming to zero viewership, are we concerned about that costing money while not really increasing our viewership.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we definitely have to figure that out exactly. I guess one thing we'll have to kind of push for is, and one of the reasons I'm so invested in having subscriptions for everyone is we'll have to push for people to get subscriptions to their channel. We can actually host small channels relatively for pennies. But if we have to make this scalable and financially viable, then we have to make sure that everyone's able to kind of pull their weight when it comes to streaming. So that's something that we're definitely going to have to tackle at some point.
Makes sense. Thanks.
So I really like, I'm glad everyone's answer was pretty much the same. The answer was yes, we need as much streaming diversity as we can possibly get, and the various types of content and categories and types of streams I could possibly get. And I'm totally on board for that because right now, I don't know if you all realize this, but we're hosting a talk show, and if we can't exist on a streaming site, then why are we even hosting this on our streaming site? So I'm totally down for that. I'm glad to hear that. I think that makes it a little bit simpler too, but it also makes it more of a challenge because I think what we'll need to do for launch, at least especially when we're marketing, is making sure that we're hitting those different types of categories. Right now we've got a lot of gaming streamers, from what I can tell. We need to really start getting in those talk shows, continue to get more of those Rifrosts, right, that want to exist. We need to continue to find more artists that can help grow our art streams. And so one of the things we really have to do is make sure we can market to those audiences in the way that they want to be marketed to. Hopefully for us that seems to be like just reaching out a helping hand with like, hey, we're offering a streaming service. How can we help you? Does anyone have any ideas of how we can market to their audience better?
Yo.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Just a quick comment. I'm really excited to hear what you want to say about it, but there is a big like underwater rock. I guess I don't know what you call it, but like there's a really big problem with that. Could be is that people who would be banned from mainstream media for valid reasons would be pissed off at mainstream media and be looking for some alternative stuff, and we don't want them on our platform because they were banned for a reason. And you have said before that you want to evaluate people by their stuff when they're already on the platform, but I think just even allowing people who spew hateful rhetoric, like political stuff, that can be really damaging to the platform early on. So yeah, we don't want to become a platform which harbors like, I don't know, Nazis and whatnot. Just like,
yeah, you're absolutely right, and I do think it's important for us to recognize that, and also call it out that would be what our community moderation team would be for. Not only for the viewers themselves and the streamers to report those types of streams, but we're gonna nip it in the bud. Like we're not, and my point earlier to are we gonna let those people on our platform? The answer is yes, right? I don't think it's our place to judge you before you even start to use our platform, right? Everyone deserves a second chance. Now, I think that can easily be taken and ran with. So what we have to make sure we do is we make sure we moderate our platform appropriately and make sure that we're instilling those values we talked about earlier, kind of from the beginning.
Mind if I throw something in there real quick and just to keep on that term? So basically, for those type of things, I know some of the goal is to write the terms of service very particular, very specific, and overarching enough that an art streamer should know exactly what they can and can't do on the platform. A music streamer will know exactly what music they can use and they can't use. There won't be a lot of gray, vague areas that will allow for questionable things. It should just be nipped right from the terms of service off the get-go. Not that everyone pays attention to those, but it will at least be there.
One of those things, talking about the topic of like how to get people to get on the platform, etc. Your streamers know best how to network and get people to come to the platform. One of the things that I think that Mixer did right is that they use the streamers or partners as sort of like, hey, these are the people that represent our platform, and these are the people, if they're telling you that, hey, the platform is good, then it's good, and come give it a try. Using the talent that you have, and this is where they kind of like slipped out, using the inside talent that you have, the streamers that you have, is very much key to getting people on the platform and having the retention that you're looking for.
Yeah, that's a great
So
point.
yeah, to kind of piggyback off of that. So Twitch, right? Twitch does some interesting things with a lot of their partners, especially the bigger ones. When they sign their contracts, I'm fairly certain. I have never seen a contract, but they kind of have to. These partners sign away, well, not away, but they sign such that Twitch is able to use their likeness in things like ad campaigns, and to be boosted on the internet. And I think that's something that's important to keep an eye on for the future because, like Hime-sama said, I hope I didn't butcher that, but the content creators are going to be what's going to drive the platform in a lot of ways. And so I think really pushing the content that's on the website is going to be the big part. So, like, here's one, for example. I'll post it here. Basically, they're just posting clips. They're highly stylized. Something like that could be really interesting and beneficial to the platform as well.
Yeah, actually, I want to piggyback off of that too because I've been talking recently about this idea that essentially I think the worst thing you can do is advertise Glimesh directly, right? Oh, Glimesh, come join our streaming site, right?
Right.
Ideally, what we're actually doing is we're advertising our partners, our streamers, and we're showing them to the world because what we get from that is we get their content, right? Distributed to the world, but we also get their audience. We get their new found followers to come to our platform. And essentially, if we always make sure that we keep this in mind, I think we'll be successful. And that is that our streamers' success is our success. If they're successful on our platform, then we will be successful because of that. And I think, like to the point earlier about Mixer, where they probably really went wrong was ignoring the majority of their content base and trying to focus on what gets them the most amount of viewers as quickly as possible to get the ad revenue and as quickly as possible. Whereas if you would have diverted that energy towards your streamers instead and really kind of cultivated a successful economy for them, then you create not only one ninja, but 1,000 ninjas who can represent your platform. And I think there's a lot of value in really embracing what you all can do for the platform to continue advertising and giving you tools and branding and messaging and whatever it is to help you advertise not only your stream, but our platform and how you can be successful on it.
As to what you were saying about, if they focused on the wrong thing, they could have had tons of ninjas instead of all that money for one, is so spot on. Early Mixer was such an incredible place. I was there maybe 6 months after the Beam acquisition is when I came to Mixer. And it was such an awesome place. Like it felt like this community in that everybody seemed to know most of the other people. So there was like this just continuous circle of awesome friends, and everybody was helping each other out, promoting one another, bringing other people to the platform, building one another up, and a rising tide lifted all ships. And it was such an incredible thing to see. And it lasted a good while until Mixer was like, you know what we need, Ninja?
There you go.
You know what we need?
It really lasted until they started focusing on BRs and everybody started feeling left behind. They
Yeah,
started
that's a good point.
doing preference in the scheduling for partners, and then they took away featuring for normal content creators, and it just went downhill.
Yeah, they first of all, they tunneled really hard into Fortnite, and they lost or dropped, I don't know which, the partnership they had with High Res doing the Smite stuff. And that after that, Hype Zone was literally nothing but VR finishes all day, every day.
All right, so kind of moving us on to our next subject here. What what I've been thinking about a lot is, so assuming that we're successful, we launch and there's people streaming, there's people viewing, there's people subscribing, there's millions of chat messages, our servers are on fire and they can't keep up. Assuming all of these things are true, what keeps people around? What keeps people engaged, right? So that's what we have to really try and understand too, because it's gonna not matter at all if all of our marketing efforts were amazing in getting people in for that launch, and if our continual marketing events seem to not be as successful as we wanted. How do we keep our community interested, engaged, involved? How do we keep viewers viewing and streamers streaming?
Encouraging your creators in the platform. Like the community sends. If you ask anyone from Beam, like what brought us to the platform, the community. It seems like a lot of people forget that community and having that good relationship with the community is incredibly strong to just keeping everybody happy.
Absolutely. On the Mixer subreddit, constantly, people talk up the community. There were so many times that people would come in there over the years and they'd be like, "Hey, I stream on this place or that place or the other place, and I'm thinking about swapping to Mixer. What is it about Mixer that people like so much?" And without fail, 9 times out of 10, the reply is going to be, "Well, it's got this and this, but really, the community." Like, that was always something that people had to bring up no matter what, whether they liked the FTL or co-streaming, whatever the case was, they always mentioned community as well.
But I don't know if that may sound a little bit I don't know, jaded, maybe cynical, but like I'd really love to have some sort of gamification system, sort of, yeah, like levels and achievements and all that stuff. That was like super cool, and I could I'd really appreciate that being on Glimesh as well. I don't know if that would work great to engage with, like to keep people engaged, but it's something that helps, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point. One of the things that I've been trying to meander is, what is. So I've been thinking about what keeps me addicted to WoW, and so we kind of call into my deep dark secret of online video gaming. And one of the things that I really like about WoW is that I can just hop in. I can do some stuff and I get rewards. I get cosmetics or achievements or gamification out of it. And I think one of the interesting things is creating a platform that gives you creative freedom, gives you little emotes to show off, or badges in your chat, or rings around your avatar, or even like bobbleheads that kind of show off who you are and what you're about, and making them interactive in some form or fashion. I think all of these things are different ways of gamifying the environment. I guess, how do we feel the gamification works towards a non-gaming centered audience? Does it have the same appeal? Is it a negative? Is it a positive?
Regardless of non-gaming, even artists game from time to time. You have artists that don't game as hard as some other artists, or some people that do like IRL that don't really game as hard as actual like gamers, but people game and still like that kind of stuff.
Okay, awesome. So then, what different types? So we've got a couple of different types, I guess. One is an achievement-like system, right? That lets you, watch a streamer before they hit 100 viewers, or maybe it's you completed 70 hours of streaming over your tenure, or whatever the achievements look like. But then there's also kind of engagement features, right, which are different types of gamification. I think one of the things that Hayden is actually most interested in is the ability to integrate the streaming system and the interactivity system directly into video games, or directly into even art programs to actually control colors or palettes or whatever it may be. Does anyone have any strong thoughts on like live viewer engagement tools, like chat gaming or audience engagement, anything like that?
Yeah,
Oh
but
yeah.
Nope.
Oh, one at a time.
Okay, mine's
You go
quick.
Go
first.
ahead.
So this immediately brings to mind something that you see on things like Stream Elements, Streamlabs, where they have like these integrated like inventories and like item shops that you use currency to buy things like channel points, whatever. Um, I think what would be cool would be seeing an integration of something like that into the core systems of the platform that allow you to do a couple different things. So first of all, like we said, to as a sort of cosmetic, to show off in chats, to show that you're super cool, whatever. You watch a lot of streams, whatever. And then another thing might be items that have an influence not on how you look, but on how you interact with the stream. So I know there were some instances on things like Mixer where if you did certain things on the platform, like I think I remember one thing was like confetti would come falling from the top of the page or something. And
Something.
yeah, and so I think there's a whole world of things that we can do on the interactivity side, that also ties into people earning items that they can use across the website, or even creators being able to make their own items that can be used in their specific communities. Um, and if you leave at least some of it up to the creators, then it also, leaves a whole world for these creators to do whatever they want. That's a freedom that pulls people in.
Strix was up next. He wanted to get a few ideas in.
Oh, could I actually about the things and the features? I think that you can fall into a trap of having a choice paralysis and just like being overwhelmed by all those things, and the people will leave if they get into that. So I think it might be a cool idea to have that leveling system that as you level, you unlock more and more things you can do with the platform, so that like I don't know, when you're level 1, you can like I don't know have an emote or something, and where you're level 50, you can have an emote, a meshi, I don't know, a new skin here, a new skin there, just like customize like the whole site to look like your site. But yeah, just like don't dump everything at once on a person is I think is my point.
And we'll have to look at the balance between, making it rewarding when you do level up versus making you not feel like you're locked out of something
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
that point. All right, Strix, if you're ready, you can go ahead.
Hey, yeah. Sorry, you might hear my kids in the background, and I'm also on my phone, so it's kind of trash because I gotta watch the kids. But
You sound like Clone, it's fine.
Rude.
oh yeah, sweet. Just a couple of things. I think the biggest thing for viewer retention is gonna be the interactivity between things. So Twitch does a great job with this, having the interactions with certain games. Maybe like the extensions and whatnot. A lot of those are third party, but Twitch allows them. It has that integration. Another thing is the channel points. I think is a great idea. We can find a way to integrate that as well. I think those are always fine. Especially they also have the integration with like things like Touch Portal and uh, your kind of geez, what's the word I'm looking for? Your other apps that activate stuff on your stream, and that's going to be the biggest thing is integration. And Mixer kind of lacked that, um, and that's another. And I think that's why I don't know. I like the way that Twitch has their integrations and whatnot. Um, but I think the more interactivity you give to the viewer and the streamer, the more the viewer are going to watch. If you give the viewer the option to make this happen on stream, on the video itself, that's huge, and they're making an impact. They're hitting home with the streamer, I guess. That's what I feel like when every time you see something that you do on in the chat happen on the screen and the streamer react, that's like hitting on a personal level and they get to stay. I guess. It's just interactivity is going to be a very big thing, and I think that's where it's going to be in line. And then to a point, another the biggest thing is just discoverability and visibility with the streamers as well. Um, Being able to make sure that everybody can be seen in some regard. But I think a platform where everything's open and the biggest integration between the viewer and the streamer is going to be what's going to be the next generation. And using Mixer's FTL or low latency format is perfect for that. And I don't think honestly Twitch ain't ever going to do that. So if somebody is going to be here to push that button, I think they could easily match Twitch.
Yeah, I think exactly to your point, what we're seeing with all of the successful startups nowadays is they focus really heavily on almost your developer API, and then creating a really strong marketplace to kind of back it up. So when you enter your stream, for example, you have a bunch of different options for what you can install into your stream, and Twitch is doing the same thing, right? But I think we have an opportunity to take it a little bit further, make it as friendly as possible, but then also make it as flexible as possible, giving them the ultimate ability to do real-time events and try to actually create these unique, engaging experiences, because that's what it is, right? It's engagement, it's ownership. I think the worst streams that you watch, or at least the streams that I don't enjoy, are the streams where it is just, chat is just ignored, Chat, who gives a fuck about chat? I'm here to talk about my own stuff. And so to give chat the ability to interact gives them the ownership to come back tomorrow and see how it worked out.
That hits it right on the nose right there, and that's honestly one of the core reasons I moved from Mixer to Twitch before the downfall. It's just that ability to have that engagement, to have chat matter, to have you sitting in chat, gaining these channel points, able to manipulate my stream. That's what I think that's what and how we're going to keep viewer retention. Period.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. I definitely agree. Does anyone have any final thoughts on engagement?
Yeah,
I want to. Oh, go ahead, Ryan Frost. I'll go after you, man.
Thank you. I've got a few. I've had this idea for ages, so I think I might have to have a separate conversation, Clone, with you. I'll send an email because I could talk for hours about this. I think the biggest thing that the startups seem to do, and you've seen it sort of with Trovo, is that they heavily invite people to come to stream, but there's not a massive incentive to have viewers. And I think having some form of viewer incentive is a massive crucial point with the very early stages of a streaming platform. So, for example, the one that I would always love to happen, and I've got a lot of influence from WoW because you and me, Chloe, we're now best friends because you're addicted to WoW. It's like, how do they get people to stay? And it's obviously the in-game events, the random events that happen, the dailies and everything like that. But the refer a friend scheme, and I think this is a really good point to make, for example, like subscribers. Like if you can subscribe to a channel and get a bit of discount, but then if you refer somebody else into subscribing to the channel as well, maybe get like half price on each subscribers, and they get sort of like a level up system based on how many people they refer in. So obviously the platform's getting more money, the streamer's getting more money, and also the viewer who's referred people in are getting a bit of an incentive. What I would love as well for sort of viewer retention is does anybody ever remember MSN, where you could press a button and it shakes the screen to get their attention? I would love it if like you could earn enough channel points, and this is directly at the people that don't really engage in their stream. It's like having, like, you could interact with the screen, like press a button that earn like 1,000 channel points and shake the screen to get the viewer's attention. Like if they're sat just tunneling a game, and there's so many different ideas. And I don't want to keep talking because I say I could talk for hours, but I think finding a way to incentivize viewers to stay on the platform, and also incentivize streamers once they're finished streaming to go and watch other people's streams as well. So like for a channel, a streamer can say, right, if you go and talk in 5 different streams, you get an incentive as well. So it's sort of creating this whole ecosystem of viewers and streamers that constantly stay on the platform, are there to promote other people, but also jumping into other people's streaming and so on and so forth. So it really sort of keeps everybody on the same platform instead of jumping over to different sort of streaming. So I think I'll send you an email, Clone. I've got about 50 pages I can go through.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, but there's all sorts of things we can do.
All right, Paco?
Yeah, I just wanted to say this is it's most of it has been touched on at some point throughout this, and I know the chat in the Discord is going through it as well right now. But you know, some of the big things are Twitch having their integrations with a lot of games like Minecraft, Deep Rock Galactics, Marbles on Stream, that directly interfaces with the game and can enhance the experience for viewers and streamers is really cool. Also, Mixer with their mix play, there was a lot of really fun things you could do with that. And like some of the people in the chat are saying, it was not the easiest to use thing, and they were very kind and said it didn't have the greatest documentation. The documentation was ass. They didn't tell you anything. They were like, click the screen and make stuff happen. Cool, thank you, it's helpful. So first of all, having mix play type features where you can create these interactive buttons that do things is really cool. I remember I used to have some that I basically had the Snapchat camera on my PC, and people could click buttons and spend their Sparks, the in-stream currency, to change the emoji on my head or make different things happen, stuff like that. And there's just so many options you can do with it, and it's incredible what people come up with. So having that would be cool, as well as making sure people have the tools and some of the knowledge. We can't teach them, you know, the whole world, but having some basic tools and knowledge to let people create these things would be really cool. And there was one other thing that I can't remember, so we can move on.
All right, that's great. Yeah, I think there's a lot of different, I guess, ideas for engagement, and I think one of the things we'll have to juggle is, you know, what makes sense to do first. And I think, honestly, there's a lot of good ones that kind of make sense in the beginning, especially as we're growing, to kind of drive that engagement that we need from the very beginning. And I think those are the ones we should kind of identify and focus on. Now, one of the things I do want to call out here is we are ending the bottom of the hour here, especially with our late time. So we're here, we're an hour in. I'm pretty tired at this point. I do think that it's about time to call it wraps for this session. So what we've covered so far, let me just recap, and then we'll get some final thoughts. What we've covered so far is we've covered what makes an ideal launch. So we covered, that it's not really about the number of streamers or viewers that we want. It's more about making sure that people are always available, that the site is always breathing. But then, balancing that out with making sure that it's always the content that we really want to try and strive for on our platform. We kind of identified that it's super important, and it would be a mistake for us to target any genre specifically, and we should really focus on continuing to target everyone, right, to make sure that everyone feels a welcome home here with us. We also identified that it's going to be interesting to get people to continue finding us, but it really falls on both the platform and the streamer's shoulders, as well as the viewers, to make sure that we're promoting you all, but then you're promoting us. You're streaming on Glimesh, you're trying to make it successful. You realize that a small platform is going to have quite a ladder to climb to reach success, but I think together we can do it. And then hoping that we continue to enable each other to continue growing, because our success is your success and vice versa. We also talked about engagement features, right? We talked about the fact that there's a couple different types. There's the ones that give you achievements and the gamification aspects, but then there's also how to interact directly with the streamer and the game they're playing, or the audience they're interacting with, or whatever it may be, and kind of providing those continual value, those ownership pieces that the streamer can get and the viewer can kind of really get the value from. I think our next step here with this information, and Christoph has done a great job at keeping notes here for us, is actually kind of break this down a little bit more and kind of determine what are the groupings of the different pieces we'll need here, and then make sure we're all aligned on what we need to succeed. We've got a couple of different features in the works right now that I think are exactly on track here, but we just have to make sure that there's nothing else we need to add or we need to continue to grow into. And then one of the things I do think we need to figure out is how can we make sure that there's traction for the platform before launch. That way, when we do launch, we are starting off at a good footing. Now, like I think at the points we made, we don't have to have an extraordinary amount of traction. We don't have to wait until we're 1,000 streamers in to launch. But having a day one launch be successful, I think would set us up for success. So what we have to do next is just kind of identify exactly what those features we need are and what our kind of first streaming group is going to be. And I think for us, it's a really simple answer, right? It's all of you or whoever's interested in helping out. So we're going to work on kind of figuring out ways to start opening up the platform now, maybe by having pre-follows or whatever it is. And then hopefully we can actually transition everyone into streaming on the platform here very soon. So I think those are my final thoughts. I want to thank everyone for attending our meeting. This has been fun. I hope everyone liked my Twitter GIF. I spent quite a while trying to find it.
It's perfect.
I felt like it'd be perfect. I wanted to thank everyone for coming by. Thank you for all of your thoughts. We're going to be publishing these minute meetings, of course, after this. And I'm going to see if I can get chat exported too in a way that people can read. So thank you all for joining. Thank you for stopping by. We're going to hang out here for a little bit, or at least I am going to. But I'm going to stop the broadcast here in a minute. So thank you.